22 has 9 cameras covering the implosion this morning, including the now world-famous KAMIKAZE CAM, the camera on the roof of the Household Bank building, the one that's going to be coming down this morning. We're going to lose that camera. We're not going to get it back, but we are expecting some spectacular shots before that camera comes crashing down. Also, cameras up above with Chopper 22. The weather this morning, a perfect day for an implosion if there is such a thing. Very few clouds in the sky. We have a chilly northwest wind going from 15 to 25 miles an hour. It's causing some chilly conditions here in downtown Scranton, but in a way, it may help us out because a tremendous dust cloud is anticipated when those buildings come crashing down at 10 o'clock this morning, so it should help dissipate the dust cloud. People started arriving just after sunrise this morning. Downtown Scranton is now rather crowded. Scranton Police, the Park Service, Capitol Police, the firemen had quite a time keeping that crowd under control. Some people did wander in close to the implosion site. They've all been taken out to a safe distance now. They are in several locations around the city. Most of them are at the Steamtown USA site. That's where the dignitary platform is. That's where Mayor Jim Connors later this morning will be pushing a ceremonial button that will start the implosion. We say ceremonial because Connors will press that button. He won't do anything. Some people with CDI, Controlled Demolition International, will be the ones pushing the button that will bring down the buildings. Again, 9 cameras around the city. In a little bit, you'll be looking at some of those shots we have for you. And News 22's live coverage of the great implosion will continue right here, right after this.
Sunday at the New Globe, celebrate the new mall at the Great Implosion Sale. Sunday from 10 till 5, save 20% off everything you buy. Sale or regular price, cash or charge. 20% off, Sunday only. The Easy Park Garage opens at 7 a.m. The Charlemont opens at 8. And you can begin shopping at 10 a.m. Sunday. The Great Implosion Sale at the New Globe, Sunday 10 till 5. Save 20% off everything in the store. Some items and departments excluded. See store for details.
In Towanda and all of Bradford County, we're here. In Williamsport and throughout Lycoming County, families rely on us as their health care provider. So do residents in Hazleton, Wilkes-Barre, and Wyoming Valley. From Scranton to Montrose, we provide the health care you've asked for. HMO of Northeastern Pennsylvania, the Blue Cross HMO. We're in all these communities because your good health is our business.
WYOU, your 24-hour news source. News every hour means you see it here first. News 22 broke the story of an attempted bank robbery and bomb threat in Luzerne County on our regular hourly updates. Then News 22 brought you complete coverage with 5 reports at 5:30 and 6. As police searched the suspect's home for more explosives, News 22 kept you informed, updating you every hour and bringing you a team report at 11. Get your news first from the station that works harder. WYOU, the 24-hour news source.
For 13 years.
I have been an employee of the Third National Bank for 33 years.
40 years next week.
Going on 14. The people.
I talk to a lot of nice people.
Helping people is the best part of my job.
Be friendly to the customers.
Customers are the most important people at the bank.
And my goal as well as Third National is to make the customer happy.
Come in and try us, you'll like us.
The customers are the bank. They are very important here.
Welcome back to downtown Scranton and Channel 22's live coverage of the Great Implosion. I'm Andy Palumbo. As you saw from that opening montage, this has been a long and winding road from concept to reality, and we're still quite a distance away from reality, but we're closer than we've ever been to the $101 million shopping mall at Steamtown, the one that's going to tie into the new Globe store and the Steamtown National Park. It's been a long and winding road, as I said. Photographer Dave Jones and I put together the history of the Downtown Scranton Mall project.
Downtown, just listen to the music of the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalk where the neon signs are pretty. How can you lose? The lights are much brighter there. You can't forget all your troubles, forget all your cares. So go downtown.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. This is not a tale of two cities. It's a tale of one. This is the downtown Scranton many of us remember. It was the hub of the area's commercial activity, street after street of crowded stores, restaurants, and theaters. It was the place to be. This is the downtown Scranton we're left with. Big department stores, with one exception, either closed down or moved to malls and shopping plazas. Downtown Scranton was left to rot. Instead of bustling and vibrant, other adjectives were being tossed around, words like blighted, depressed, and ugly.
And Saturday night, this corner here was like Times Square.
Matt Garofalo has been cutting hair downtown for more than 55 years. He remembers the Scranton that used to be.
And I can remember that every building was rented up to the 3rd floor. There wasn't an empty store in the city that I can remember. And the activity in Scranton was incredible. I mean, you could come to town with $1.50 and get a haircut and shave a shoe shine, go to a movie, and go home with change. You know, streetcar fares were only 8 cents. And like I said, there were a lot of single men, you know, without any families who came to the city for their fun.
And what the electric city has become.
The Central City activity began to diminish. Came television and whatnot. The movie houses weren't doing what they used to do. And then, of course, people could afford cars. They couldn't afford them before the war. Now they had the drive-in theater, and people kind of left the city to seek their fun elsewhere. It makes me feel sad because I remember the days when this was a great town, great town. It really was a great town, a good town to live in, good town to live in.
Scranton is now looking to its future from its past. A $101 million shopping mall will replace the once bustling row of buildings along Lackawanna Avenue. Anchored by Boscov's and Montgomery Ward, with dozens of shops in between, it's hoped the new mall will recapture the spirit of the past to bring people back downtown.
It gives the community a marvelous national park and a marvelous mall, and I think that's what most of the community has always wanted, the best of both.
The road to the future hasn't been easy. Since the project was announced nearly 6 years ago, there's been delays, lawsuits, and money problems. The Dalcavage brothers almost brought the project to a halt. They sued in federal court. The case stretched on for years. When it was finally resolved, the first building on the mall site to be brought down was the one that almost stopped it. A gleeful Mayor Jim Connors and Governor Casey were at the controls as the Dalcavage building came crashing down. But after the first building came down, a delay of a few months as demolition contractors went to court over who was the low bidder. This project, already delayed for years, was stalled again. The day after the matter was settled, the heavy equipment returned. Things have moved quickly since then. More buildings came down, buildings filled with memories like Tony Harding's Diner and Pete Bordy's Bar.
One more 10-cent beers and 15-cent hot dogs.
The easy ones are gone. We're left with this cluster on Lackawanna Avenue. Buildings easier imploded than ripped down. The blast is less than a half hour away. A blast that will propel downtown Scranton years into the future. 30 years of memories compressed into about 4.5 minutes. You're looking live at downtown Scranton once again. That is the shot from Chopper 22. Bob Gobla circling the city this morning. Some interesting facts about this implosion. 5 buildings, they're big ones, but only it's going to take 250 pounds of explosives to bring them all crashing down in about 15 minutes from now. The thing that's going to make this tough for the implosion company, Controlled Demolition International, there's 3 types of construction down there. The household furniture building, that is the one on the right of your screen, the tallest of the 3, that has steel beams in it. The other buildings are pretty much masonry load-bearing walls. Those are the ones to the left of the picture you're looking at right now. That is a shot from the Globe parking deck. And if the mothers of any WYOU photographers are watching this morning, don't worry, they're not in the implosion site. That camera is unmanned. We locked it down and scooted out of there so nobody gets hurt. So there are 3 types of construction, different types of explosives being used. The household furniture building has some plastic explosives on the steel beams that'll cut the beams like butter, according to one of the implosion experts. Plain old-fashioned dynamite in the rest. We've got plenty more to show you this morning. WYOU's live coverage of the Great Implosion continues right after this.
HMO of Northeastern Pennsylvania believes children are our most precious resource. Keeping them strong and healthy today will ensure a happy tomorrow. HMO's Little Apple Seed program offers expectant parents guidance and supportive services throughout pregnancy and the birth of your child. Giving your child a good start will prepare them and you for the active years ahead. For information on how you can enjoy our Little Apple Seed program, call our Healthy Lifestyles Department. HMO of Northeastern Pennsylvania. Your good health is our business.
Every Friday, tune into News 22 at 6 and put the past in its place. Your living room. News 22 presents Friday Flashback, a look back at the local stories and events that shaped life as we know it. Only our extensive film archives date back to 1953, longer than the other local stations. Every Friday, we'll flash back and show you the biggest and most interesting events from years past. Relive history or see it for the first time. Friday Flashback, only on WYOU, your 24-hour news source.
Most customers come here to open up an account because they know that the bank is safe.
I think people come to the Third National Bank because we have the nicest tellers in the world.
We provide a very personal touch for our clients.
It's like working with your family.
It's not just opening accounts. It's not just answering the phone.
We have real good service and friendly people.
And we're very happy to help them with their problems.
Yeah, I'm cracking right now. You want to know the truth?
As you can see, we're about 12 minutes away from the great implosion here in downtown Scranton. Good morning. You're watching WYOU's live coverage of the great implosion from Lackawanna Avenue, downtown Scranton. Those 5 buildings are going to be reduced to bricks, rubble, and dust in about 12 minutes from right now. Stick around. It's going to be quite a ride. The company doing the implosion this morning, Controlled Demolition International. They're headquartered in Phoenix, Maryland. They're famous for going around the country, blowing up buildings. They just completed work on Lethal Weapon 3. They did some spectacular special effects for that. That should be in theaters around Christmas time, and you'll be able to say you saw them do work in your hometown. Good morning. 12 minutes to the implosion, and right now the company, Controlled Demolition International, is headed up by Doug Wiseau and his brother. We spoke with Doug. Doug doing most of the work on this project. He's quite an interesting young man, as you'll see from this interview.
When you take a building down with explosives, you isolate the key structural supports of the building and you knock them out sequentially with explosives so you can utilize the weight and the gravity of a structure to pull itself down in the direction of fall. As is the case with the buildings behind me, what we're going to do is sequentially knock out the columns on the south side of the structures first so we can incline the buildings away from Lackawanna Avenue and the businesses here.
As projects go, rate this one for me. Difficult, easy, somewhere in between?
Well, you never really have an easy project. You know, each project has its own specific challenges. This offers a challenge because we're taking down 6 buildings at the same time, and each building has different type of construction. We have structural steel construction in the large building over here. Some of the structures, the exterior walls are load-bearing with interior cast iron columns, and then we have a combination of reinforced concrete and cast iron and others. It's probably a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, but it is not an easy project by any stretch of the imagination.
If you could describe how this is going to look when it's coming down, you know, do they go down back first? Do they tumble straight down? Do they tumble backwards? How's it going to look?
It'll start at the back, as I mentioned before, towards Steamtown, and the ends of the structures will come down first, and it will just come down as really a wave. Explosives will be detonated over 7 seconds, and the buildings will be on the ground within 10 seconds. The end buildings, which are steel, will incline slightly away from Lackawanna Avenue. The rest of the buildings will come straight down.
What type of explosives do you use on something like this?
The steel buildings, we use something called a linear shape charge, which is high-velocity explosive in a copper sheathing, and that directionalizes the charge so we can cut the structural steel columns. In the load-bearing structures, we'll use a nitroglycerin-based dynamite. We'll use approximately 200 pounds. Detonated over 7 seconds.
It doesn't sound like a lot.
It really isn't when you consider the mass of the structure that we're bringing down. What we try to do is utilize a minimum amount of explosives for the maximum efficiency.
How much of these buildings come down by their self? It's like you just knock out their underpinnings and you let gravity and physics take care of the rest.
That's really right. You know, if you look at how a structure is built, you know, you have certain members that are strong in tension. For example, if you take a pencil, a wooden pencil, you could tie a 100-pound weight on it and pick it up and the pencil wouldn't break, but a child can break it, snap a pencil and shear. So we take tension members and put them into compression, or compression members and put them in tension. You put loads on a structure that it's not allowed to take, and it will fail, you know, as you plan it.
You seem to go about this matter-of-factly, which is your job, but to people around here, it seems like such a big deal. What goes on inside you when you see something or when you see the button pushed on Sunday morning?
Well, it's not matter of fact at all. You know, it's something that's very calculated, and you rely on a lot of historical data. We've taken down several thousand structures. So each specific building reminds you of another project that you've done, and you utilize that historical information to give you a plan on this. By the time you get to the point at which the button's pushed, you've done the best that you can up to that situation. Really, it's you know, it's just a culmination of a lot of planning. One of the gratifying things about this type of work is you get instant satisfaction. I mean, you go through a planning process, you go through a preparation process of several weeks, and it's all culminated in several seconds. And you know immediately if you're right or wrong.
You mentioned history before.
Yes.
The history of this project is controversy. There was a historic preservationist move, and you've taken down apparently a lot of old buildings in your day. Do you ever feel sad about taking down buildings?
Sometimes you do. I mean, the first buildings that the company took down, I think had a lot of historic merit back in the 70s, before the historical societies really started saving a lot of the buildings. A lot of the buildings are structurally unsound and have outlived their useful life. You know, buildings as people do have a life expectancy, and structurally some buildings can't be saved. You know, certain other buildings have historic merit to them that we take down. Yeah, once in a while you feel badly about it, but, you know, like liken ourselves to the traveling executioners, per se. You know, the verdict has already been given on the buildings, and they're slated to come down. So they come down almost majestically. They bow out gracefully rather than be hacked to death as the buildings are being done up here. But yeah, once in a while there are some pangs of guilt over taking some of these structures down.
How do you protect the remaining structures here on the avenue?
The remaining structures, the occupied buildings across the way, we'll park some tractor trailers in front of the windows on the ground level to minimize any impact that we could have. Also, we try to cover the building that we're taking down to keep any of the displaced material, which is displaced by the explosive detonation, from leaving the periphery of the structure. To stop flying debris. So I don't think we'll have any problem with this.
And it's all over in seconds?
It's all over in seconds.
All over in seconds. So you can see a News 22 truck sending back one of our live pictures from the middle of Lackawanna Avenue. As we pull out this shot, you can probably see some tractor trailers parked along the fronts of buildings on Lackawanna Avenue. That's to protect those buildings. I'll explain why in a moment. But at the top of that shot, you see plenty of people. Scranton Mayor Jim Connors earlier this week told us about 20,000 people should be here to watch the great implosion, which goes off in about 5 minutes from now. And Mayor Connors is probably right. A large cluster of people in the middle of Lackawanna Avenue. There's even a bigger crowd down at the Steamtown National Park. Now, those buildings you're looking at, the ones that are going to be imploded in about 5 minutes from right now, plenty of history in there. There are 5 buildings. The Household Outfitting Company, which is the largest of the 5, is the one that has the KAMIKAZE CAM on top. That was the first of the buildings along the avenue to close. It was the really hot story in downtown Scranton for a long time, but time caught up with it. They closed in the early 1960s. Also in that cluster is Troy Furniture. They shut down in 1972. Lee Furniture hung on until 1984. The Uffberg Furniture building closed earlier this year. Mr. Uffberg moved his business to Dixon City and gave everyone quite a scare as he tried to hold this thing up with a lawsuit. Right now, you're looking straight on at the camera we have in the Globe parking deck. That's the one we're going to show you at exactly the top of the hour when those 5 buildings come crashing down. Now, down at the Steamtown National Park, we've got another camera, which is on top of a scissor lift, which is going to give us a good view from the back. You'll see that view later on. We'd like to thank Bill Davis from Valley Rental, located on Hazel Street in Wilkes-Barre. Bill, once again, come through for us. He's provided a Grove scissor lift, which affords us the opportunity to get some of those fine pictures high above the crowd you'll be seeing later on. In 12 years of broadcasting, I never thought I'd have to do a plug for a scissor lift. Well, you'll see it all this morning. Good morning, Andy Palumbo live downtown Scranton, 8th floor of the First Eastern Bank building, where we are bringing you live coverage of the great implosion. It is now 9:56 in 20 seconds. This thing is scheduled to go off at about 10 o'clock give or take a minute or so. Right now, our live coverage of the Great Implosion will continue right here on WYOU TV-22 right after this.
We care about our customers.
I love them. Personalities are great.
If they see you in the mall, they say, hey, it's the girl from the bank.
At the Third, I get to know all of my customers personally.
Talk to a lot of nice people.
Stroudsburg.
East Mountain office.
The main branch.
Which branch office has the best customers? Oh, we're happy to tell you.
We've got the best customers in Dunham.
Taylor branch. We're the best.
Unless you have one in Hawaii, then I'll take that one.
How would you like to win a Coors Light Sports Pack from News 22? Well, all you have to do is pick up an entry form from your local distributor and then watch Nugent Knows every Monday night at 6 and 11. I'll ask you a sports trivia question. You write down the answer on that entry form and send it to me by Thursday. And then on Friday, I'll pick out a name from all the correct entries and announce the winner on Nugent Knows at 6 and 11. So be a winner. Watch Nugent Knows on News 22.
Welcome back to WYOU's live coverage of the Great Implosion. As we've been telling you, 9 cameras covering this event. The most spectacular view will come from the top of the household furniture building. That's where our $7,000 KAMIKAZE Cam is located. Here's a closer look. Making its debut for this morning's Lackawanna Avenue Implosion is the KAMIKAZE Cam. It's also making its final appearance. You see, the KAMIKAZE Cam will live up to its name by not surviving the implosion. KAMIKAZE Cam was installed by a crack team of WYOU engineers and production personnel Thursday afternoon. They bravely climbed the 10 stories to the top of the household furniture building. It's the largest building coming down this morning.
Well, we just want to show people what it's like to come down from the top of a building.
10 stories up.
10 stories to the ground, and you can never witness that yourself, and this camera's going to do it.
The engineers may come cheaply, but the KAMIKAZE Cam doesn't. It costs around $7,000, and we don't expect to get it back. Now, how does this technological marvel work? Well, our engineers had enough trouble setting it up, so I'll be the one who's going to explain it. The signal goes from the camera to this microwave truck. Somehow, it gets into your house. Amazing, isn't it? The KAMIKAZE Cam, a unique view of history. Unique to say the least. I was up there when they were installing KAMIKAZE Cam Thursday afternoon. It was done in a snow squall. It was kind of scary. We had to walk up the steps of that building, and there's rubble all over the place because they knocked holes in the walls to see exactly what was there and where they could place the charges. And they had cut away some of the steel staircase because that will only give the building strength, and their idea is to weaken it so it comes down in a big heap once this thing comes down at 10 o'clock. Now, it is scheduled to go off at 10 o'clock. You can tell time as well as I can. It is now 10 o'clock and 40 seconds. We haven't heard the 2-minute warning siren, which will be one long 10-minute siren 2 minutes before the implosion, and there will be other sirens as we get closer. We haven't heard it yet. That's what we're waiting for right now. You're looking live at those 5 buildings that are going to be coming down in downtown Scranton. A head-on shot. That camera is located in the Globe parking garage. That's the camera we're going to stay on when those buildings start to come down. We also have cameras located in other parts of the city that will show you this. We've got a camera in the Oppenheim building. We've got one further on down the street. We are here in the First Eastern Bank building. You're looking at the map there. We've got 9 cameras covering this. The one you don't see there is the one that's in Chopper 22, hovering above downtown Scranton. Now, they said earlier this week there are 2 things that can hold up this implosion. One of them is heavy fog. Obviously, we don't have that this morning. We have great weather. It's kind of chilly. As I said at the top of the show, we've got a northwest wind going at 15 to 25 miles an hour. A tremendous dust cloud is going to be generated when those buildings pancake, when they start coming down. So the heavy winds we have this morning will help dissipate that cloud. Now, if you live in the Scranton area and you're not down here, you're looking at the live shot from the Oppenheim building right now. The thing that Pennsylvania Gas and Water Company says you should be aware of, because there's going to be so much dust, they're going to be opening up fire hydrants to wash down the streets, wash down some buildings. And that means it's going to stir up some sediment in the mains, so people living in the Scranton area may have some cloudy water later this morning, so you should be aware of that. Now, there are trailers parked along Lackawanna Avenue in front of the buildings, and as Doug Wiseau told us earlier this week, they're not afraid of falling debris on those buildings. What they are afraid of is there's plenty of air in those 5 buildings, and when they start to squash down, that air's got to come out and go somewhere. That may cause some damage. That's why there are those trailers parked along Lackawanna Avenue. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it in that shot. If you look down at the first floor of the Lee Furniture Building, if you look down at that building, you'll see some covering that will keep debris from coming out. We can go to Steamtown now. Yes, thankfully, we are not on this endeavor alone. We have people down at Steamtown National Park. Let's go live to Larry Sparano and Kevin Jordan.
All right, here we are at Steamtown National Park, where we'll have a spectacular view of the great implosion. The buildings are behind us, and a big crowd waiting for what? KAMIKAZE CAM! Okay, and hopefully the mayor of Scranton has seen to it that the explosives have been planted on the right side of Lackawanna Avenue. For that, Kevin Jordan and the mayor and Mr. Boscov.
Okay, Mayor Connors, good morning. Good morning, Kevin. Let me ask you what Larry asked you first. You did plant the explosives on the right side of the of Lackawanna Avenue.
Kevin, we only put a few charges in WYOU, and we think we got them all out.
Okay, very good.
But if the Globe store goes down, I'm turning around walking back to Manuka. You'll never see me again.
Yeah, they'll be chasing you back to Manuka. Mayor, what's the latest on the implosion now? We hear that there's been a slight delay.
Just 10 minutes to make sure that they wanted to go through the buildings one more time, make sure everything is set up. So, listen, if Nassau can hold it up for 10 minutes, so can we.
Everything is all set. This is a tremendous day for the city.
It's a great day, and I'm certainly glad to have Al Boscov here with me, who had faith in our city. And you know what? My faith never wavered in Al Boscov. He said he was going to build this mall, and he delivered for us.
Very good. Let's talk to Al Boscov, the developer of the mall. Mr. Boscov, good morning. This is, you've got to be looking at this with great anticipation, too.
It's the kind of blast I like to go to.
A blast of the past. What about the plans now for the Lackawanna Avenue Mall? How is the plan going?
Well, you're going to see a lot of progress. You'll probably see excavation starting as early as Tuesday or Wednesday. The foundation's going in right after that, still going up in about 20 weeks, and we'll be open right on schedule October of '93.
What about this day? What does this mean to you?
It means that my feet are cold. It also means that it's sort of nice to have a council and a mayor and everyone is stuck behind this project so that we see it come to completion. More than one mayor, really, and more than one council.
Mr. Boscov, thank you. Mayor Connors, thank you. We'll look forward to seeing those buildings come down in a few minutes.
I hope the right ones come down.
Yeah, so do we. So do we. Mayor Jim Connors of Scranton and the developer of the Lackawanna Avenue Mall, Albert Boscov. The officials will now be going up to a podium where there'll be some speeches, but as the mayor said, there is about a 10 to 15-minute delay. We're told that the reason for the delay is the large crowd that's been assembled to watch the implosion, the great implosion this morning. Some of those people have gotten into an area where they can't be. They're going to make sure that all those people are out of the area, so there will be a 10 to 15-minute delay before the great implosion. Larry?
Okay, now that 10 to 15 minute delay has not dimmed the enthusiasm of this crowd, has it?
No way!
All right, what time did you get up this morning to see this great event?
I was up at 7 o'clock so I could be here early and get a good seat.
Is there anybody here old enough to remember when these buildings first went up? How about you, sir?
No, not really.
But you've seen these buildings in Scranton go through a lot of different changes. Tell me, a lot of people said for a number of years now that the mall would never happen. What was your thinking on that?
I'm one of them that didn't believe it would ever come to this day.
Well, here we are today, and it looks like the great implosion is about to happen. 100 years of Scranton's history will go down with those buildings, but it'll also be the beginning of a new era, a second renaissance, as Mayor Connors has put it. How about you? You looking forward to seeing this?
Yes.
Big explosion, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how about you, ma'am? What do you think of all this?
I can't wait to see it happen.
And how about you? How far did you come to see this today?
From Southside, it's a dynamite day.
I guess that wraps it up. It is a dynamite day, and that dynamite is set to go off in, I guess, just about 5 minutes from now. Back to you, Andy.
Thank you, Larry. And where did you get the really cool hat, and why didn't I get one? We are high above the implosion site. We're in the 8th floor of the First Eastern Bank building. You're looking at some of the implosion personnel walking along the avenue. That's right in front of the implosion site, so obviously we've got a few minutes to kill here, pardon the phrase. But as Larry said, they wanted to make sure everybody's out of the area. They're expecting about 20,000 people for this. It was always expected that crowd control would be a problem. Obviously, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. You don't get a chance to see this in your hometown too often, at least we hope not. And That's the problem with keeping people away. You're looking live at some of the crowd that is gathered. That is down the block from the state office building, just about in front of Quince Army Navy. I believe that is the intersection of Lackawanna and Penn Avenue. No, I'm not sure if you can pick that up, but we do hear a police loudspeaker warning people to get back as far as they can to get out of the restricted area. Back live to the First Eastern Bank Building, you're watching WYOU TV's live coverage of the great implosion of 1992. Now, the reason we're here is the $101 million Lackawanna Avenue Mall at Steamtown. As you heard Al Boscov say, they expect this thing to be open in October of 1993, which is about a year and a half from now. As we told you at the top of the show that it was about a 6.5-year road to get to this point. It was first proposed that Al Boscov wanted to build a shopping mall, of course, with one of his stores in it down near Memorial Stadium. They sort of asked him not to do that, to try Lackawanna Avenue instead, and that's what he did, formed a company called Scranton Mall Associates. And it's been a series of lawsuits and delays and fighting with people who didn't want to leave to people who wanted to preserve the buildings along Lackawanna Avenue. Now, as we found out, some of the buildings were just not structurally sound. We talked to some of the construction people, the demolition people rather, during the last few weeks when these buildings started coming down, and we watched some of them come down. And it was really a sight because just one big push from a payloader, and they were gone. Came down in a cloud of dust and some smelly wood, and that was the end of that. Now, you may be wondering why these buildings are being imploded rather than taken down in the conventional fashion. That's because they're just too big. It would be easier to blow them up than take them down. Let's now go back to the Steamtown National Park. Larry Sparano and Kevin Jordan. Obviously a problem with that interview. That's Kevin Jordan with Scranton Mayor David Wenzel, the guy who, during his administration, this project was first proposed, and the guy who had a lot of heartaches and headaches until we got to this moment. Plenty of lawsuits and plenty of problems during his administration, and things happened to get settled when Mayor Connors came in. Just by coincidence, I guess, they got all these lawsuits settled, and the project is moving now. You're looking live from, I believe, the camera we have in the Oppenheim building, Lee Furniture, the first building, and then working on its way down to the Household Furniture building, the one that closed about 30 years ago. Quite a spectacular building inside. When we were inside it earlier this week, we were just wondering what it used to be like. That building closed just about the time I was born, so obviously I never got a chance to take a look around in there until it was too late. And you can't help wonder what might have been if someone had kept those buildings up and if someone had kept them operating. You're looking live now at the KAMIKAZE CAM. That is a $7,000 Panasonic camera that is on the roof of the Household Furniture building, the one that will give you a view of the building coming down. It's never been done in this town before, and I really don't think it will be done again. It's a really expensive proposition. $7,000 for that camera, not to mention the really neat tripod it sits on. So when we powered it up this morning and we still got a picture from it, I think we were kind of all amazed. We flew over the building with Chopper 22 yesterday, saw that camera sitting majestically on the roof, and we're sort of pleased it's still there. That camera is on the roof. It is pointed at the back towards Steamtown. It's on the top of the Household Furniture building, which is the building you see on your right now. That should be the first of the building to come down, maybe the toughest of the buildings to come down, because that's the one with the most structural steel. As we showed you in an interview with Doug Wiyou of Control to Demolition International, they placed charges on steel beams at about a 45-degree angle, pretty much as you would chop down a tree. You wouldn't chop down a tree sawing it straight across. You do it at an angle so it slips down. That is the top of the Household Furniture building you're looking at right now. About where the U is in Household Furniture is where our KAMIKAZE CAM is located. It's behind that brick wall. You really can't see it from this vantage point, but you know she's there. She's powered up. She's ready to give us some spectacular pictures. Pulling back now, that's a camera from the First Eastern Bank building, a camera right to my left, and you're looking at some of the buildings that were brought down earlier this week. It was kind of ironic. What you're seeing there in the foreground, just about to the left of the News 22 logo, is what's left of the Pagula building, another building with a steel frame, and it was kind of symbolic, maybe ironic, that when they tried to rip it down Friday, she just didn't want to come down. They tried putting cables onto steel beams and yank them out. They tried and tried and tried, and finally they had to weld or get a cutting torch and cut through the beams to make it easier to rip out. And I was with several people standing on the sidewalk watching that building come down, and it was kind of sad that that building really didn't want to come down. And some of the engineers who looked at it said that building was in pretty good shape, but it was right in the middle of the mall zone, So it has to go. Mr. Pagula has relocated his insurance business to the Alperin building, which is down on Penn Avenue here in downtown Scranton. City officials were very happy to see him remain in the downtown. We have about a few minutes left in the delay for the great implosion of 1992 here in downtown Scranton. 5 buildings coming down to make way for the Lackawanna Avenue Mall at Steamtown. I was with Scranton Mayor Jim Connors a few years ago when he was speaking to a bunch of school kids, and as a reporter in this town for a long time, we all looked at these mall stories we've been doing for the last 6 years, and we got kind of disgusted with it because it didn't seem to be changing. It seemed to be the same thing over and over again. We had a joke around the newsroom. We were counting the number of times we would use the phrase, another hurdle has been cleared, and we're closer than ever to the Lackawanna Avenue Mall, and we still seem to be getting nowhere. I finally realized how important this project is to this town when I went to a school in Southside with Mayor Connors. He spoke to the kids about the way government worked. It was right after Mayor Connors took office, and he gave his speech about how government works and what they're attempting to do. And then from a bunch of elementary school kids, they started asking questions, and 90% of the questions had to do with, when are we going to see the mall? When are we going to see the mall? So it seemed very important to the people of this city that this mall get built. As we said at the top of the show, we are closer than ever before. You're looking live at the View head-on from the Globe store. We have got a camera in the parking deck, one of 9 cameras we've got going for you this morning. It's in the Globe parking garage. We locked it down this morning, set up the shot, and scooted out of there so no one is going to be hurt when this thing comes crashing down. About 20,000 people are in downtown Scranton this morning waiting to view this thing. Most of them are in the Steamtown National Park. That's one of the few places where city officials sort of recommended you view the implosion. They didn't want to get anyone too close. There's about a 500-feet zone around the implosion site, and they've extended that from time to time, making sure no one is in the area. 2 helicopters above. One of them is Chopper 22. There is a Scranton police officer in Chopper 22, making sure that no one is in the way of the great implosion. You're looking now at some of the crowd down at the Steamtown National Park. Kind of chilly out there, kind of breezy. I should say it's more than kind of breezy. We've got a 15 to 25 mile-an-hour wind from the northwest this morning, so it is cold. Temperatures in the low 30s this morning. And everyone remembered to set their clocks ahead at 2 a.m. We hope no one misses this thing. So you have your VCRs all set at home to tape the big event. It is now 10:15. We are about 15 minutes late. That, you're looking at something really neat. That is in the lobby of the WYOU building, 415 Lackawanna Avenue. That is a seismograph. And we will tape that when the building is coming down to show you what kind of vibration we're having in downtown Scranton. Now, one of the interesting things about this is I asked Doug Wazo earlier this week from Controlled Demolition International. Everyone is worried that a major implosion and a big rumbling on Lackawanna Avenue will send the city tumbling into the mines. He said there's really nothing to worry about. The rumblings from the implosion will actually be less than the rumbling from the big trucks that will be brought in here to cart away the debris. We'll take his word at it, and we've got that seismograph in the lobby of our building to show you how big the rumbling will be from those buildings crashing down. Now, as being the skeptic I am, when someone tells you that the rumbling from an implosion will be less than the rumbling from a big truck, it's kind of hard to believe because you're looking at the right of the picture there, the household furniture building, 10 stories high, plenty of steel and terracotta and brick and mortar. And you can't tell me that that stuff is going to drop from 10 stories up and not create a major rumble in downtown Scranton. We'll just have to wait and see. Andy Palumbo live, 8th floor, First Eastern Bank Building, downtown Scranton, waiting for the great implosion of 1992. 5 buildings coming down, making way for the $101 million Lackawanna Avenue Mall. At Steamtown, Al Boscov told us this morning everything is on schedule. We should see some excavation next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday at the earliest. And that sort of thing should be helping get them all on track. Should be open by October of 1993, about a year and a half from right now. It seems like we're waiting a year and a half for the implosion. Actually, they told us it would go off at 10, give or take a minute or so. That's now been delayed. It is coming up on 17 minutes after 10. The reason for the delay is there were some people a little too close for comfort, and they want to make sure everyone is out of there, making one last scope of the perimeter of the implosion site, making sure no one is close enough to get hurt. 9 cameras bringing you this event. We will tape as many views as we can. Instant replay, slow motion coming up after the implosion. But the big thing right now is waiting for the implosion. Now, we talked about some trailers early on in this. You can see the trailers at the bottom of the shot from the Globe parking deck, the ones that will be bringing you, ones that will be protecting some of the buildings down there from the airburst of the air coming out of those buildings when they start to implode, whenever that will be. The mall at Steamtown, $101 million. Now, it wasn't supposed to cost that much, but of course, factoring in inflation and some design changes, they wanted to put a parking lot in the back, but Steamtown National Park wanted that lane, so they had to construct underground parking garages, and that's what they had to do to up the cost of this. Some of the money is coming from the state, some of the money is coming from the federal government, much of the money coming from an organization called Scranton Mall Associates, which is basically Al Boscov and a man by the name of Arnold Praver, who runs an organization called Shopko that builds shopping malls all over the country. You're looking live at Steamtown National Park. That is the VIP platform where some people are making some speeches. Let's go live there now.
And speaking now is Al Boscov, one of the developers of the project.
And it's certainly been one that we've been looking forward to. Both Shopko and Boscov have been working very diligently in the program for at least 5 years. And I think you're going to see a lot of nice things happening. As soon as the buildings are down, I think by Tuesday or Wednesday you'll see actually the beginning of the preparation for the foundations, excavation and foundations. You'll see steel coming in not too much after that, and hopefully, and not only hopefully, but right on schedule, we'll be opening in October of '93. Before that, you're going to see the Sampers building, and I think that will be completed within 6 months, and the Oppenheim right behind it. So we'll have a lot going, and I want to thank everyone, the mayor, the council, governor, certainly Congressman McDade, everyone for making this project possible. And again, we certainly will live up to your expectations. Thanks a lot.
And the latest we hear, Andy, here at Steamtown from Mayor Connors is that it would be about 5 minutes from the beginning of these speeches, and we're 2 or 3 minutes into these speeches right now, so it will be about 5 more minutes, we suspect, before the great implosion does take place. Mike Washoe of the Office of Community and Economic Development speaking here as you look at another picture. One of the 9 cameras we have getting ready to take spectacular pictures. One of the most spectacular sights ever in northeastern Pennsylvania, the implosion of the 5 buildings making way for the Steamtown Mall. Governor Casey, Congressman Joseph McDade, who had were anticipated to be here today, have not been able to make it. I know that Ned Dempsey, the mayor's community development aide here in northeastern Pennsylvania, will be representing the mayor. And we're about 2 to 3 minutes away, we understand, from the actual implosion. And the main event here, the thing that everybody is gathered for, as Mayor Connors here continues to speak. We're hearing from the walkie-talkie, the police transmissions, the transmissions between the folks with the demolition company, that we're about 2 to 3 minutes away from the actual implosion here in downtown Scranton. Andy, back to you.
It's only fitting that the implosion be delayed. After all, this mall project was delayed for about 6.5 years, and people who have been around here for a while remember back into the Gene Hickey administration when he proposed something called Westgate, which is something remarkably similar to this Lackawanna Avenue Mall. I guess he had his eye on the westerly side of Lackawanna Avenue, which you are looking at live right now, because those buildings were rapidly falling into disrepair. Businesses were moving out, so something had to be done. But something similar was first proposed during the Gene Hickey administration, which was before Jimmy McNulty, which was before Dave Wenzel, and of course, which was before Jimmy Connors. But the actual mall as is was first proposed during the Dave Wenzel administration about 6 years ago this summer. As I said, it's only fitting that the implosion be delayed. After all, this mall project has been delayed for so long. Now, what you will be hearing, hopefully, soon, is one long 10-second siren. That's pretty much the 2-minute warning, comparing that to a football game. Then at 1 minute, we'll hear 2 short sirens, and then a final all clear at 15 seconds before the actual implosion. All the buildings you're looking at right now were built during the 1920s. The last one to be emptied out was the home furniture building, which is just about in the middle of the screen now. if you can look at it carefully, I know we can't zoom in on that camera because it's locked down because we didn't want anybody getting hurt. That camera's in the Globe parking deck. You can see the front of the building bowing ever so slightly. The closer you get to it, the more you can see the bow. And the reason is that bow wasn't there until a few days ago. What they did was weaken the building deliberately so it will come down easier when this implosion ever gets off this morning. It is now 10:22 You're watching WYOU TV-22 coverage of the great implosion live from downtown Scranton. As Kevin said, 9 cameras covering this event, including the $7,000 KAMIKAZE cam. It's on a Panasonic, it is a Panasonic camera at the top of the household furniture building, which is the building at the right of the screen right now. It is the tallest, 10 stories, steel beam construction, and it's going to come crashing down. I just wonder what we're going to tell the insurance company. We'll tell them something to get a new camera out of this. That's the view from the KAMIKAZE cam. Look at that. We even made a special graphic for this thing. We spare no expense. We're losing a $7,000 camera, a tripod, and we even made a new graphic for it. Isn't this amazing? We're waiting for the implosion now 10:23 on a Sunday morning. You're watching WYOU TV-22. Live coverage, 9 cameras strong, several people strong, of the great implosion, making way for the $101 million mall at Steamtown. Now, there are literally hundreds of tons of material you're looking at right now. We've got steel, we've got brick, we've got terracotta, we've got masonry, you name it, it's in those buildings, wood. But only 250 pounds of explosives are going to be used to bring it down. Now, you may ask, Andy, how is that possible? Well, we'll tell you how. What they're really going to do is just blow out the bottoms of those buildings, blow out the underpinnings. The building at the right, the household furniture building, a high-tech plastic explosive first developed by NASA, is going to take out the steel beams. The building will then collapse onto itself, maybe fall backwards from the picture you're looking at towards Steamtown. They, of course, don't want it falling out into the avenue. Now, those other buildings, different types of construction, most of them are masonry load-bearing sidewalls, and what they're going to use for those is just plain old-fashioned dynamite. Now, what they did earlier, and you can't see it from that shot, you're going to have to get a close-up shot later on, but you really did see that earlier in the show, is what they did was they blew out holes in the sides of the wall. They sort of arched them to make columns, to make it easier to blow away those columns, and the building will then collapse down into a big pile. It should take only about 7.5 seconds long, but the thing to be aware of is there's going to be a huge dust cloud formed after those buildings come down. PG&W has okayed the opening of all the fire hydrants, so that may cause some cloudy water for Pennsylvania Gas and Water Company customers in the Scranton area because it's going to stir up some sediment in the mains. You're looking live now at a picture of Lackawanna Avenue. There are still some people walking around, as you can see to the right of your picture, just on top of the traffic signals there. They're making sure no one is in the area, that it is absolutely safe, that everyone who is supposed to be there is there, everyone who is supposed to be out is out. We're told the implosion is just a few minutes away, now 25 minutes after 10. They told us it would be a minute or two either way at 10 o'clock. They're now 25 minutes late because they were worried some people were just getting too close. One person walking out of the picture right now just toward the bottom of the screen. We hope that is a good sign that the implosion is coming near. The architectural heritage people, the preservationists, desperately wanted to save those buildings. They wanted to save the whole avenue, or hopefully incorporate some of the facades of those buildings into the new mall at Steamtown. As it turned out, it just wasn't feasible. The buildings just weren't stable. They attempted to do that early on in this project, and we do hear a siren right now. That is the 2-minute warning, finally. That means that the implosion is about 2 minutes away. You'll be hearing in just about a minute 2 short 5-second sirens. So we are close. A head-on shot from the Globe parking deck. Those 5 buildings will be history in about a minute and a half from now. It's only going to take about 7 seconds to bring those buildings down in a heap. As I heard the interview with Doug WYOU earlier this morning, I asked him if he felt sad about destroying such history, and he likened himself to a traveling executioner, saying the death sentence on those buildings has already been passed, and they're just there to do the job, and he thinks it's more majestic to take those buildings down in one swoop than have them hacked to death as the rest of the buildings on Lackawanna Avenue. Whether you agree with him or not, it made an interesting point and something probably we should all think about. But getting back to an earlier point, the preservationists tried to save the avenue. They just couldn't do it. It would be too expensive to incorporate those buildings into the Steamtown Mall. We are now hearing another siren, which means we should be. That is the second of the 5-second sirens. We are 1 minute away, finally, from the implosion, the great implosion, here on Lackawanna Avenue. 9 cameras will be covering this. The shot you're seeing now is the one we're going to be staying with when the buildings come down. The other cameras we have out this morning are being fed into videotape machines, so we will be able to show you some slow-motion replays right after the dust settles. This is Andy Palumbo. You're watching WYOU TV-22, live coverage of the great implosion from Lackawanna Avenue in downtown Scranton. We're 8 stories above, and you're looking at Mayor Jim Connors, who will be pressing a ceremonial button. That button actually does nothing. It's only for show. That button does absolutely nothing. It's the people with Controlled Demolition International. 15 seconds to go. 15 seconds to go. Hopefully we can pick up some natural sound, as we call it in the TV biz, and the countdown as those buildings come crashing down. It's everything they said it would be, and then some. You were looking at what is supposed to be Lackawanna Avenue in downtown Scranton, now completely occluded by a giant dust cloud. We are here in the First Eastern Bank building on the 8th floor. Visibility is absolutely nothing outside our window right now. We have a gray, ugly, grayish-brown dust cloud that is drifting over the city. We will take a short break and be right back with all the instant replays. You'll see it again. You are watching live coverage of the great implosion on WYOU TV-22. There used to be buildings there, and not anymore. Good morning, Andy Palumbo, News 22. We are live along Lackawanna Avenue in downtown Scranton. If you were with us just a couple of minutes ago, you witnessed the great implosion. 5 buildings along Lackawanna Avenue blown up, imploded to make way for the mall at Steamtown. Right now, we're going to take you through some replays of the actual event. Unbelievable, as they say in the sports department here at Channel 22. You really didn't expect, you expected something spectacular, but it was even more than we had imagined. This is from the Oppenheim building. There they go. And the giant cloud of dust, which is still drifting over downtown Scranton. It's generally dissipated, but wow, what a cloud it was. We're on the 8th floor of the First Eastern Bank building. We couldn't see it from out the window. This is the view that we had from the First Eastern Bank building. This building's built in the 1920s. They're only a memory now. And here you see the giant, this is the head-on camera from the Globe parking deck. You run out of adjectives looking at something like that. And no matter how many times you see it, you never get tired of it. This is the KAMIKAZE CAM. The KAMIKAZE CAM history just like those buildings. She didn't last too long, did she? But she did work. We got about 5 seconds of video out of it, which, to be honest with you, is more than I expected. That is a live picture you're looking at now from Chopper 22. The dust cloud basically gone from the implosion site, and it's now drifting over the rest of the city. We had some high winds this morning, northwest winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, and that helped to dissipate the dust cloud rather quickly. 5 buildings built in the 1920s, reduced to a pile of rubble. Pilot Bob Goebel, photographer Dave Jones in Chopper 22 this morning. They had quite a spectacular view of just what happened. see the head-on view once again from the Globe parking deck. That was a camera that was unmanned, and they wouldn't let us have anyone there, and thankfully we didn't have anyone there. That is the WYOU lobby, the seismograph, and there you see the needle pin when those buildings started coming down. And as you see, a sustained pin on that needle. Again, the view from the First Eastern Bank building, the one we had right here, and an unforgettable moment. They sort of hang in the air for a second after you hear the charges go off, and they just majestically collapse in a heap. I have no idea what that is, so don't ask me to explain what it is. You can see the state office building in the background, and as we pull back, we see what is left of those 5 buildings along Lackawanna Avenue in downtown Scranton. The view from the 8th floor of the First Eastern Bank building, photographer Jim Keenan at the controls. Just an unbelievable sight. It got off, let's say about a half hour late, but it was well worth the wait. 5 buildings. They said it would only take seconds. They were right. About 7.5 seconds, to be honest with you. And they all came crashing down in a heap. The reason those buildings were imploded, they were just too big, too structurally sound, at least for the household furniture building with all that steel in it, to be taken down in a conventional manner. And to be honest with you, the city got a lot of free publicity out of this. We're a CBS affiliate. CBS is interested in taking a look at this tape, so you may see it on the CBS Evening News tonight at 6. And, of course, full coverage right here on News 22 coming up at 6:30. Are we going to Steamtown? Can someone tell me? We are not yet going to Steamtown. But Kevin Jordan, Larry Sparano standing by at the Steamtown National Park, the VIP platform. They will be talking to some of the folks down there, getting their thoughts, their views, what they had going through their minds as they watched those 5 buildings come crashing down in a heap. You're watching WYOU TV's live coverage of the great implosion. We are live, 8th floor, First Eastern Bank building, downtown Scranton. There used to be 5 buildings behind me, but they're all gone now to make way for the $101 million mall at Steamtown. They came crashing down in a heap about 5 minutes ago. A spectacular heap it was. The dust cloud that just about filled downtown Scranton and blocked everything in its path has just about dissipated. What they're going to be doing now is, it's going to take about 10 minutes. It's called a safety check. Make sure no gas lines were ruptured. Most of them were cut off long ago, but they've got to make sure there's no leaking gas down there. There's no fire. There's nothing that will cause any great danger to anyone. That is a national requirement, so they're going to be going through. It should take about 10 minutes. Then they're going to let everyone in there to take a close-up look, as close as they can get, to what actually happened this morning. But to people watching this at home, there was no better seat than right here on WYOU. 9-camera coverage of the great implosion. Here we go again, looking at it live from the Oppenheim camera. Not live, a tape rather, from the Oppenheim camera. Just as they had planned. What memories those buildings are filled with. Only memories now because they're a bit of Scranton history. 70 years taken down in 7 seconds. This is from the back. This is from the Steamtown National Park. As you see downtown Scranton enveloped now by that major dust cloud. There's going to be a lot of cleaning going on here in downtown Scranton the next few days. Now we go back to Larry Sparano, who has former Mayor David Wenzel.
Yes. Watching the buildings fall, it's a kind of representative that we're done with this phase of the project right now. It's going to be interesting to watch it all grow up now and see what kind of effect it's going to have on the rest of the downtown area, especially on the other side of Lackawanna Avenue. Some cynics might say that in today's economy, this might not fly despite the best laid plans. The economy is an up and down affair. By the time this is built in 1993, I think the economy is going to be back up there. You know, people are going to be back to work, and the business cycle is going to be on an upswing. And I think it's coming just at the right time because it's helping our people now who are suffering from the recession right now. With all the glitches, all the delays, all the lurching along that this has had over the years, you said that force of personality played a significant role in getting this project actually going. That's right.
Al Boscov, the fact that he stuck with this project. And he actually came to Scranton way back in 1981 and was interested in doing something here. And the fact that he stood by the city of Scranton through all the problems that we had with the Architectural Heritage Group and also with the National Park Service and finally with the downtown merchants and everything, I think it's a testament to his personality that kept this whole project on track.
All right, that was Mayor David Wenzel with his thoughts on the demolition today to make way for the new downtown mall. We now switch to Kevin Jordan.
Okay, Larry, and with me is Public Safety Director James Klee. Jim, what about this? It went off okay. Any problems?
So far, it looks like it was flawless. Report I just received from the officers up on the avenue that it went very, very well. I had a lot of confidence from the beginning in this company. They said they're professionals. They can do it. At first, I was a little leery, but after being briefed and just knowing what they can do, they certainly did it. This was quite an event.
There was concern, obviously, about damage to other buildings, glass, things like that. Any reports of that, Jim?
As of yet, no. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's going to be some shattered glass someplace. But I haven't even had a report of that yet. I'm going to work my way up on the street right now to get an assessment of exactly what took place.
Okay, there's going to be an inspection on Lackawanna Avenue in that block. How quickly before the street's open to pedestrian traffic here, or will it be open?
Oh, it'll be open today. We have heavy equipment in place right now to clean the streets. We have flushers, whatever it takes to get it open. We'll have it open this afternoon, I'll guarantee you.
Okay, and no problems then? Nobody got into the area. There was a delay. Do we know what caused that?
Yes, the delay was caused with people being in the restricted areas. We had reports from the choppers up above, and believe me, they were very, very helpful. We have police officers stationed in 2 choppers that were above, and they were keeping us assessed down here exactly what was happening. They were reporting people into the restricted zone. We had to get officers in there and get them out. That was the delay. That was accomplished, and you saw what happened.
Okay, Jim, thanks very much.
You bet.
Public Safety Director James Klee. Apparently, Andy, it went off without a hitch. Now they'll clean it up and get ready to build the mall.
You really have to take your hats off to the Scranton Police Department. Don't take your hat off, Kevin. But you really have to take your hats off to the Scranton Police Department. About 20,000 people down here this morning, and they kept the crowd under control and got this thing off a little late, but it got off nonetheless. Now, we finally figured out what that is. That is the last remnants of the household furniture building. I guess the building just holding on for dear life. That is a corner beam, the only thing that didn't come down in the implosion this morning. Maybe we should have strapped our KAMIKAZE cam onto that. But that is the only thing standing on Lackawanna Avenue right now. As I look out onto the avenue earlier, there was a piece of heavy equipment headed down that way, ready to topple that thing. But what you are looking at, that big white thing sticking up right in the middle, is corner beam from the household furniture building, the only thing standing on Lackawanna Avenue this morning. Now, got up from my chair for the last hour or so and took a look down on the avenue. Avenue's pretty much covered with a dust, which they'll be wetting down later in the day, trying to clean up downtown Scranton. But from what we saw down there, you asked Public Safety Director Klee, Kevin, that if there was any damage. We could see of none. We're on the 8th floor of the First Eastern Bank building. We didn't feel a vibration down here. As you saw from the seismograph we had in the WYOU building, which is only 2 stories high, there was quite a rumbling there, but there was nothing going on. Now let's go back to Steamtown. Larry Sparano with former Mayor Jimmy McNulty.
All right, former Mayor McNulty is with us. And Mayor, this all began in your administration, didn't it?
Yeah, well, we tried to recruit Al Boscov to Scranton. We were convinced he was going to wind up in the Oppenheim building. Now he owns it. And Al Boscov did lay out his design of a mall to me on a desk one day, and his dream is coming true here. Dave Wenzel obviously worked 4 years to make this mall happen. The mall project itself was his baby for 4 years, and he's here today to celebrate. And Mayor Connors and the rest of the council and all the elected officials followed through. But there were a lot of help from Joe McDade and Governor Casey. But I remember that household building, Larry. I used to press my nose up against the window every Christmas and watch that train display. And so there's a little bit of nostalgia when you see that building go down. But now we get to see a view of Lackawanna Avenue from Steamtown that we never saw before. And in talking with Al Boscov earlier, he promised that the Christmas displays at Boscov, the new mall, are going to be even bigger and better. And he's got the biggest train display in his backyard all year long now with Steamtown. So it's going to be a great tourist attraction. And just the very fact that people can come into this area and implode buildings like this, bring them down without any damage. You know, there are a lot of skepticism about the mine caves and would it support this kind of a demolition. No problems whatsoever, as Andy Palumbo just reported. This is a really amazing technology, and yet it also just proves that Scranton is coming into the 90s.
Mayor, there was also some skepticism that it's a bad time to float a project like this considering a weak national economy. What do you say to those naysayers?
Oh, I say what I usually say to the naysayers is that you've got to believe. And I think that just the very fact that Scranton and all of northeastern Pennsylvania has such a priming of the pump of the $101 million mall and Steamtown with all of the federal money is going to bring in people from all over the country, brand new dollars to this area to spend in that mall and all around northeastern Pennsylvania. We've got a lot to be grateful for, and jobs are coming.
Okay, an upbeat word from a former mayor, and now we switch to Kevin Jordan and the present mayor of Scranton.
From one mayor to another, with us is Mayor Connors. Mayor, what about the implosion? It seems to have gone off flawlessly.
It went off beautifully, and as Mayor McNulty said, we've have to have confidence in our area and in our people. This is one of the best places in the world to live. Everybody from outside the area is telling us what a great place this is. We've got to believe it ourselves. We have the 6th lowest crime rate in the country. We're one of the 15 super cities in the country. Great people, warm people, $270 million of economic development going on here at a time when there's recession happening everywhere else. This is the place to live, and this is the place to do business.
Mayor, what have you received any damage assessments, any word on any possible problems with the implosion?
A couple windows that cracked, that's all, in one of the businesses downtown. Nothing serious, and that's minimal when you're thinking in terms of taking down 6 enormous buildings like this.
So it went off without a hitch?
It went off without a hitch. I felt very good pressing that plunger, and WYOU didn't come down. We did have some charges in there, but we took them out at the last minute.
And thank goodness for that, and we knew where they were placed, too, I might add, yes. What happens now for the remainder of the day? What will go on now in that area?
Well, we're going to take a little walk up there now, and I hope WYOU will join us, and we're going to inspect the rubble and see just what we have up there. Then in the next few weeks, we'll clear out all of that debris, and we'll start putting up the steel, just like you see down at the Veterans Home on Mulberry Street. That steel went up pretty quickly. So everything's going to happen very quickly, and as I said, October of '93, we'll all be shopping in the mall.
How many times have we heard that? And I guess we've heard it again, and we'll hear it a couple of more times. Mayor Jim Connors, it appears Andy to have gone off flawlessly, and the work now begins.
Luckily, I have a job to go back to because the station is still there. You're looking at the shot at our front door on Lackawanna Avenue, some construction people going by. Now, earlier we showed you the last beam of the household furniture building that was left standing from the implosion. That big piece of machinery you're looking at right now took it down a short time ago. And speaking of taking down, we had a camera on the roof of the household furniture building, the $7,000 Panasonic KAMIKAZE CAM. Once again, the view from the now former KAMIKAZE CAM. $7,000 for about 3 seconds worth of video. Sure the auditors will get a hold of that. Right now we're also going to take a look at another view of the implosion. This one was taken from a close-up camera, ground level, I believe, right along Lackawanna Avenue, right near the State Office Building. Reason for celebration in downtown Scranton, and once again you are looking live at Lackawanna Avenue in downtown Scranton. Right about in the middle of your picture there used to be 5 buildings. Now it's just a pile of steel and rubble and brick and concrete. They came crashing down about 10:30 this morning. The great implosion, you saw it live right here on WYOU. Now you may be asking, to the left of your picture right now there's a couple of buildings left standing. They're going to stay there. Mike Giannetta has a music shop there. Scranton Hobby, who was in the mall zone, moved to a building just on the very left of the screen, so they're going to be sticking around in downtown Scranton. But in the middle of your screen, you're going to be seeing a $101 million shopping mall go up, and Al Boscov told us we should be shopping in that thing in October of 1993. Now, some skeptics said people will go in the mall and stay in the mall. The rest of downtown Scranton will die. Well, Maybe it's true, but they're going to take steps to try to avoid that. Here's how they're going to do it. Now, to the left of your picture, there's going to be a bridge into the Steamtown National Park. To the right of your picture, there's going to be a 113-foot bridge over Lackawanna Avenue that will lead into the Globe stores. They're trying to make this one big cohesive unit instead of a standalone mall. We'll see if they can do it. We're told that getting rid of the debris should start early next week, Monday or Tuesday. Structural steel should be going up after that, and skeptics know we did not fall into the mines. The only damage along Lackawanna Avenue this morning, according to Scranton Mayor Jim Connors, a couple of cracked windows. So we weathered the storm. We weathered the great implosion here live on Lackawanna Avenue in downtown Scranton. You're looking at a picture from the First Eastern Bank building 8 stories above the implosion site, and that's the one of the 9 spectacular views you saw this morning. We expected to be on the air, only about 45 minutes. It's now been an hour and 15 minutes. This thing was delayed a half hour because some people were in the implosion site. Once they were taken out, everything was okay, and they hit the button, sending those buildings crashing down to the street. You're looking at a live picture from the front of the WYOU building down Lackawanna Avenue. Some people are now wandering down there taking a look. The safety check is now over. No gas leaks, nothing like that. No major damage to any other building except for a couple of cracked windows. On behalf of the entire WYOU staff, including Kevin Jordan, Larry Sparano, live down at the Steamtown National Park, I'm Andy Palumbo in the First Eastern Bank building. Thanks for sharing a bit of history with us, and have a good day.